Hello, everybody. Welcome back to part 2 as we're covering anxiety and depression. Dr. Todd, we were just leading off with serotonin. So let's get into that.
Yeah, I think this is a big topic because I think most people are aware of serotonin or the use of serotonin products for anxiety and depression. You know, the classic SSRI antidepressants.
Right. Your Prozacs, your
Exactly. Your Lexapro, Zoloft, Paxil, all of those. And so most people have heard of those. And so serotonin, and I guess maybe backtrack even a step further than that. So when I'm dealing with anxiety or depression in the office with the patient, right, we're discussing strategies to say help or strategies to treat, or maybe even potentially maybe start medication. I think I try to kind of broadly put them in 2 categories based on our discussion. And that is, category 1 is sort of what I like to call the proverbial country song, right? My house burned down, my truck stopped working, my dog left.
my tractor's broke, I got tears in my beers.
Exactly. I'm out of Coors Light. I think that's the world around us is partly the problem, or a big part of the problem. And that's a much different setting than, say, someone who has a true biochemical mismatch. And this is sort of where serotonin kind of gets into the picture here. But the difference is there's a gap between maybe where we are biochemically, neurochemically, into where we should be or need to be. And this is sort of those these are the ones, as we alluded to in the first episode, when, say, a celebrity commits suicide and everyone's like, how
did this happen?
How did this happen, right? They have the, quote, perfect life. So from an outsider viewpoint, this would be an individual who kind of has it all, right? Or at least has a good life. But these folks can still struggle because of that, say, biochemical mismatch. And some of that is, say, pure maybe individual physiology or individual chemistry. And then some of that is maybe due to some of the lifestyle choices we've made, like, say, tobacco products, the foods that we're putting in our body, not getting enough sleep, like all the things that actually help kind of naturally.
Big contributing factors,
boost, right? Yeah, boost these levels. And so I think that is important because if you're going to, say, tackle it, you kind of got to know who you're fighting. You got to know who your enemy is, right? And if it's just a matter of, hey, life is really not good, all of these things are working against me, well, then you need to change that. You need to focus on that specifically.
Right.
And I know that can be maybe easier said than done. But at least, step 1, recognizing part of the problem. Now, if it's not that, this is where then we kind of look at, okay, what can we do maybe to help this person more from, say, a true physiologic standpoint? And then, the other thing I found super interesting as we kind of dive into the role of serotonin. So, and I may have alluded to this a little bit on the last episode. If I didn't, I certainly was thinking it. But did we talk a little bit about that neuroplasticity last episode?
I don't know that we really got into that.
Yeah.
We may have mentioned it, but.
Well, the idea being that certain connections in the brain, the way our brain, say, speaks, neurons and nerve cells speak to each other and send signals. This is the concept of neuroplasticity. When you're a child, you have amazing neuroplasticity, like the ability to, say, learn language. This is why
kids learn things so much quicker, learn languages. Right. It's easier to become bilingual and learn multiple languages earlier in life than it is later.
Exactly, because they have that. They've maintained that. As we age, we sort of start to prune some of that off. So some of those maybe like nerve connections that we're just not utilizing, we'll sort of prune off. The idea, can you teach an old dog new tricks? Well, if they have enough neuroplasticity left, yes, you can.
Sure.
And that applies to us as well. So interestingly enough, serotonin does seem to have an ability to help, say, restore some of this neuroplasticity. It can help maybe rejoin or reconnect some of these connections that have been maybe severed through the course of a severe depression. Because that's what one thing depression seems to do. It seems to disrupt some of these pathways. And so actually it's kind of interesting because there are certain studies that look into perhaps the role of serotonin medications in, say, post-stroke recovery. Because there seems to be an improved motor functioning.
Oh, wow.
Recovery from, say, motor function. And so there is some evidence that perhaps it can. And then now, if I I guess the question I would have is, okay, can I take a serotonin medicine and go learn how to play piano or something? Maybe
Learn that third language.
that's right. Maybe actually there has been some research at least being done in these arenas.
That is interesting.
What does all that data tell us? Well, I don't know. I'm sure if you spoke to somebody smarter than I am about that, they could tell you. But I think the point is, I do think that the role of serotonin and dopamine and cortisol and all of these things that regulate stress, regulate stress hormones, regulate brain function, brain capacity. I think they're all definitely significantly integrated, but I actually tend to think they do fall in more of that sort of symptom rather than maybe true cause. And this is where kind of trying to stick maybe with the theme of really what we're trying to do with this podcast, where we're trying to promote health, promote healthy living. This is where I think an immense amount of progress can be made if we just really try to focus on the things that we can control within our life of promoting a healthy existence. So you probably get sick of hearing me say this, but watch the intake, processed foods.
Right. Definitely.
We're going to be getting, and I think maybe to kind of segue a little bit, kind of give you a little spoiler into the next episode, we're going to be launching into a topic that I'm very passionate about, as I've lost loved ones to cancer, and that is why is cancer on the rise? And this is something that kind of can tie a little bit into that, the lifestyles and things that we're living. So please stay tuned for that. But yeah, I think that, I don't know, did we do a pretty good job covering that today?
We did. I did want to ask. Yeah. So I'm curious about something. If serotonin in itself isn't really the main issue, how is it that antidepressants still work?
Still work, yeah. So I think actually it's kind of going back to that, restoring some of those connections. I think it helps build back some of those pathways that perhaps depression sort of eroded. And because if you can imagine, maybe I kind of think of it as like an old decrepit town, where over time of not having a whole lot of, say, resources being poured into it, bridges start to fall and crumble, roadways start to crack, the tumbleweeds start to grow high, so this is like maybe an episode of The Walking Dead or something. And that's because these areas, these connections they've been neglected. And perhaps it's kind of going back to the survival instinct. When the body's trying to survive, it's going to conserve its energy for the most crucial bodily functions. So when, somebody's if somebody's in a car accident, say, and loses a lot of blood, their body's going to shunt blood to the vital organs. So your limbs are going to be a little bit, they're going to be neglected a little bit at first. So right. Everything's trying to conserve until it can't. So I think that's kind of how I think of these medications sometimes working. And by the way, I know I mentioned, when depression's maybe mostly related to those external forces of the old country song, medicine, and the data supports this, medicine's far less likely to be effective there. Far less likely. Perhaps I think what the data has shown is perhaps it can help with maybe some suicidal thought or suicidal ideation. So those who are maybe having those really deep, dark thoughts, perhaps there's some help or reduction there.
Well, that's a good thing.
Which is a very good thing.
That's a very good thing.
But in terms of, say, overall levels of depression, the medicines may not be as effective for those. But for the town that has just sort of been neglected for a while because we've been conserving that energy for more important vital things, that's, those medicines, I think they help kind of restore those connections. So they bring it back online, right? They bring the water source through the town to allow the crops to grow. Maybe they rebuild the train tracks to let, goods come in, kind of Oregon Trail style or something.
Right.
I think that's really, I know that's kind of a silly analogy, but I do think that's a big way that these medications help. And so it's not just serotonin levels, it's the way the serotonin is helping, say, rebuild or restore some of those damaged fibers or damaged nerve connections.
That makes beautiful sense. Yeah, I think we did a great job of covering
a
wide variety of topics with these two-parters.
I was hoping that would land. I mean, sometimes I get these crazy analogies and they make sense to me, but I know they maybe not always make sense to.
I get that. I get that.
But anyway, if you like that, comment.
We've got more stories. Definitely.
If you agree, let me know. Or sure, I think I know we kind of have that plea. I think each episode to tell us what you think, and if, if you yourself have ever struggled with some of these things, and you've come up with some really good, maybe natural remedies, let us know. Let us know what that's like, and certainly I think we would be remiss if we didn't at least kind of talk about kind of going back to suicide. If you're out there struggling, do not struggle alone. Do not suffer in silence. Having a support system, reaching out to those around you, check in on your friends from time to time. How are you doing? When they're, especially
Absolutely.
if they're going through a hard time, and please, before you make any decision that can't be reversed, call for help. Call 911 if you're in that position. Call the suicide hotline. So that's
talk to somebody.
Yeah.
Don't, because the longer you keep it inside, the more it's just going to eat up at you, and you're not going to get help. You're not going to get healthier that way.
Yeah. I guess I was going to try to come up with something clever after that, but I think you hit the nail on the head there. It's please do not go through it alone, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So on that note, I guess that's all we got for today, but please stay tuned for next episode. I think you're going to enjoy it. Until next time, I'm Dr. Todd.
And I'm Phil. Live well.